Well, hello there. Oh, that sounds terrible. Looks like my voice has left me and I cannot record this today. So I'll be back. Right, I'm back after basically a week of sickness. Tis the season. But anyway, I want to come back with the top reason for me not envying married women. And I really consider married couples I've known over the years, even my own marriage to my ex-husband, and just marriages that I've seen today and over time, and how I've been treated by people in different marriages, and specifically the cases where I've been treated negatively. And I can almost be certain that most married couples are not happily married, maybe more so, really 25%. And as of today, only one couple I know has poured into me as a married couple in any recent years. And I know that couple, Ashley Kirkwood, she's great. Her husband, Chris Kirkwood, they're great. They're not a perfect couple, and I've learned from them from an event they held called Speak Your Way to Cash from their company, Speak Your Way to Cash. And you can check out Ashley's video in the description. But I love how they work together as a couple, and they work in purpose. And because they do that, they show so much goodness and what a marriage should look like, because they make great impact in the lives of others, including my own. And I can't thank them enough for what they've done to inspire my life. And also, they're very open. For instance, when they're events, that everything between them is not perfect, but they continuously work on their relationship so that it can be stronger. So the people I'm preparing to tell you about are not those in that same category. Unfortunately, they would make up the unhappily married people, which I'm noticing I'm running more and more and more into those people. And the number one way they show themselves to be unhappily married is the lack of self-control. So I'm gonna start with the group first, the women. And I term these women, along with other women who could be single, the saucy Sarahs. So saucy Sarahs are any woman out there. She typically has a bad attitude. It does not matter what it's pertaining to. It could have been derived from whatever in her life, but a lot of times there's a strong self dislike of herself, and she projects it out onto other people. So I know I had cases with not one, not two, but three different married women in 2024 alone that tried to help me to lose my job. And I did nothing to any of them whatsoever. And they all were aware that I was a divorced woman, whereas they were all married, and that I lived with my mother, who is on oxygen, and she cannot work as much as she used to work because she's incapacitated in that way, having to need to use oxygen to sustain life. And all of them men aware of that. Just because they decided they did not like me or was going to find some issue with me, took measures to get my job taken away from me. If you really think about it, there's a huge lack of self-control there. When you go from this point of, oh, I just don't like her, and say even if hypothetically I did something to offend them, instead of going to having a conversation with me to discuss it and come to a solution, they jumped immediately to an action that would harm my reputation and even my job possibility, or even the possibility of having my license removed completely. And I'm a speech language pathologist, by the way. And so they did not care about that in any of those cases. In each case, they reported me, and in every situation, they all failed because they operated out of a lack of self-control. And unfortunately, all had their own things about them too that was very telling about them. One, for instance, she recorded me with her phone without my consent to try to catch me mistreating kids at a school. Yeah, so that didn't work out for her. She tried to go to her boss about it, and I'm certain her boss told her to stand down. She never tried that again. Another lady tried to screenshot something from my stories to get me in trouble and put it in a whole nother group I was not a part of. And this was a fellow speech language pathologist. And that went nowhere. because it was confirmed that I was not trying to do anything to put any child in harm's way. And it was confirmed that she was the one that did the screenshotting, because I could go on my stories and find out who was looking at my stories, and it was found that it was her. And that she could have just reached out to me if she saw something was wrong with what I was posting and said something to me instead of screenshotting what I did and posting it somewhere else and then causing outrage in the company that she caused outrage in. Didn't go anywhere. And then the other lady, she's engaging in fraud all along and was trying to get me engaged in fraud. And I said no. So all these ladies, though, were quote unquote happily married. Every last one of them, right? If you went to their social media, they all happy in the picture with their spouse. If they talking to you in person about their spouse, that everything is perfect and happy with their spouse and stuff like that. Everything's hunky-dory and great. But they are attacking other people. And they're attacking people that they know are not married, and that if they knew that those people were going to lose their job, they were not going to have someone they could come up to and get support from to help them survive. So which tells you there was some type of cruelty and coldness in their heart to make them think in the first place that attacking another human being was okay. So that's the case of the saucy Sarahs. I can't be envious of women who go out their way to attack another person and then make up this image as if they're so happily married. Something is going on in the home somewhere. Or better yet, something's going on within that woman, whether she wants to admit it or not. Sometimes the spouse at home ain't the problem. Sometimes the spouse is the problem. Sometimes it's both people the problem, right? But she definitely has a problem if for whatever reason she thinks it's okay at any time to attack another human being just because whatever she has going on, instead of actively going to handle the thing that's got her in pain in the first place. It ain't folks like me. You know, I feel like there's one of those situations where they said your light disturbs their demons, right? So, and also another thing about if these people were happily married, you don't ever steal love from your loved one. Because every time you have to show hatred to another person, you have to remove love from yourself to do that. And therefore, you're removing love from your partner. And they always say, you can't give what you don't have. So if you depleted yourself of the love you have, or even a portion of love you have, that's less love now that you have to give to your partner. So you cannot tell me that those women were happily married whatsoever. So never in life could you ever say I would be envious of women like that. And I'm running into more and more of these women these days. It's crazy. And I think I've run into a multitude of them since 2018, but definitely those three stuck out for me in the year 2024 alone. Okay, so now another reason that I cannot be envious of married women, married people. Let's go to the men. Again, that issue I said before that the women had was a lack of self-control. You just going about out the blue just because you decide you don't like me and just attacking me and trying to eliminate my ability to work, to live, to thrive. Self-control issue. The men got their own self-control issue. I've noticed it in a sexual sense. We've just seen the story of Sharon Moore recently, the coach who lost his $30 million job over an inappropriate relationship with a staffer for the football team, right? At his university where he worked. And I thought, that's insane. And he is a married man with kids. I promise you, this ain't the first time this stuff has happened, y'all. These are the men who are just getting caught. But I have 3 stories of 3 different men who were all married and SA'd me, sexual assault with me in the last 3 years, right? 2 of them were in my dad's age range, right? So my dad is in his 60s. So they were around that age, late 50s, early 60s, early to mid 60s or whatever, right? Doing that to me and being okay with it, even though they were married. And one man was probably closer to like 8 years older than me. And that case is one of the most interesting ones of all because he and his wife have a large family. And in a sense, they are influencers. And people come to their channels all the time, right? Because they have a large family, as in a lot of kids. And they just make it look so perfect all the time. But the man was just in my inbox last year telling me very inappropriate things to me along the lines of sex, including places on my body where he wanted to kiss me. I'm trying to keep it PG, but highly inappropriate things. But hey, they out here, they're collecting brand deals. They have a big, beautiful family, and everybody's falling for them hook, line, and sinker, because they give the great image of that perfect couple with all the good things happening to them all the time. But if the man is unfaithful, then that's not really the case, now is it? Now, fortunately for me, I'm not one of them sisters who see a married man out there showing interest in me and be like, oh, okay, well, kind of, where do I sign on the dotted line so I can be your mistress? No, I'm not her. That stuff is weird to me, and it's crazy. And I'm one of those people that if the Lord desires for me to remarry one day, I want to do it the right way. I don't want to curse myself by linking up with somebody else's man. So I'm not going to do that. Okay? So those men always get dismissed. In every last one of those SA situations, all of those men were turned away. Right? I mean, not only did the situation traumatize me, but the men walked away not getting what they wanted, which was, that sexual engagement. They didn't get that from me. They probably went on to some other woman, got it from her, but they didn't get it from me. I don't play that game. That's stupid. But anyway, I would see in that particular case of that couple, the influencers, where I've gone on social media before, and in the comments, it'd be women, and specifically, disturbingly, married women, and sometimes married mothers, and the comments say, oh, can you adopt me into your family? This is so precious. Oh, look how your husband is turning to the wife. Oh, look at how your husband is treating you so well and like a queen and all that stuff. Oh my goodness. And I can imagine these women are going back into their own everyday lives and comparing their lives and thinking that somehow it's a failure. And some women probably got her actually a really good man at home, but because he ain't doing exactly what this man doing in these videos, right? Then they probably thinking, oh man, my man lacking, because he ain't doing what her husband doing. But the man unfaithful. So if they really knew the truth, it'd just be like, okay, you're not going to take that into regard anymore, right? You're just going to let that lay to the wayside, and you're going to go about your business. Which is my personal belief. A lot of people need to get out of social media in the first place. If you ever find yourself on social media and you're idolizing anyone, please take a step back and ask yourself, is it worth it? Okay, so that's really what I just wanted to point out, why I refuse to be envious of anybody married. From a Christian perspective, we all supposed to be elevating our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ anyway. And if you're married or single, everything you're supposed to be doing is supposed to be for the glorification of the Lord anyway. So if you're out here trying to do things that's self-glorifying, is elevating yourself and is not elevating the Lord, you're already operating in sin anyway. So yes, one thing that does that, operating in sin in that way, is idolizing anyone outside of the Lord. Anything outside of the Lord. It includes marriage. It includes people's lifestyles. That includes money. You name it. You fill in the blank. So this is a huge reason I do not envy married folks, married women in particular. I don't, because, a lot of these people that I've just described have self-control issues that really needs to be addressed. Okay? And if you think about the fruit of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22 through 23, self-control is the very last of the 9 fruit of the Spirit that's listed. And I notice 9 times out of 10, a lot of people have issues with that one in particular. So, unfortunately, that is the way that a lot of unhappily married people reveal that they are unhappily married. Or rather, even more so, that they are unhappy within themselves and have not been working on themselves to be better. So, I'm going to choose to keep working on myself to be better, so I can glorify the Lord the way He wants me to glorify Him. And then allow Him to bless me with what He wants me to have, because He's been doing an amazing job for me this year, especially since I've decided to rededicate my life and so much more this year than I ever have in all my years of life. So I'm just going to keep going the path that He wants me to go. And I'm not going to allow myself, any times I've ever envied it before, I'm just going to allow myself to stop envying it, because it's not always what it seems, especially when people exhibit lack of self-control and they would rather do things to harm you because they're unhappy within than to do the right thing, which is to follow the Lord. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you all on the next video. Bye-bye.